materials that you may freely use and reuse without charge. OER have a Creative Commons or GNU license that states specifically how the material may be used, reused, adapted, and Creative Commons legally and free use content as GNU licenses focus on the use of software coding and other works. Next slide. With that being said, OER can include textbooks and readers. We work with faculty to complete about 4 or so textbooks so far. This summer, I had the pleasure of editing my first communications textbook, and I'm currently working on a lab manual for a sustainable cooking course. We're also assisting instructors with formatting the content for their Canvas courses. And one of the more fun parts of our job is finding the appropriate media for these OER courses, and sometimes come across entire assignments and entire courses that we can use or modify. OER can also be original content that we create ourselves or others create. Next slide. What counts as OER? Resources in the public domain, resources in the Creative Commons. These can be resources in the public domain, meaning that they can freely be used by the public. This usually includes content on government websites, but sometimes they have copyrighted materials that the government has permission to use on their website. Resources the creator grants permission for use, and resources you create. Sometimes you're able to reach out to the content creator and request permission to use their work. A lot of the times these creators don't mind and would love for us to include their work in our non-commercial courses, as long as we acknowledge them, because essentially this gives their work more exposure and gets their name out there. This does not mean anything you can access on the internet or copyrighted materials that would fall under fair use. This is a common misconception. Just because it's on the internet does not make it public domain or free to use. Next slide. What is the public domain? The public domain consists of all creative works to which no exclusive intellectual property rights apply. These rights may have expired, been forfeited, expressly waived, or may be inapplicable. This includes Shakespeare, part of the Met Museum archives, Mona Lisa, literary classics like fairy tales by Brothers Grimm, Les Miserables, The Jungle Book. Disney has only been able to recreate and greatly profit off of these huge titles because of the copyrights of the original books have lapsed. So there's thousands of images and videos and books online and just out there that are considered public domain. Next slide. What is Creative Commons? Creative Commons helps creators legally share their knowledge and creatively to build a more equitable, accessible, and innovative world. Creators have control over the intended use of their work, and users have access to build upon existing work. There are different types of Creative Commons licenses that indicate the content creator's intended use for the content. And Jessica will go into depth about what those are.
Great, Taylor, thank you. All right, so when we talk about Creative Commons licenses, it can be a little daunting at first. There are so many different licenses that are available to us, and they all tell us a little bit different things. So if we look at this chart, we'll see that up here at the top are the most open licenses. This means that these licenses have the least number of restrictions. Whereas we travel down this chart, we'll find at the bottom of the chart the least open or most restrictive licenses. This would be copyrighted materials. But there's all of this playroom between the top and the bottom where we are allowed to share things with our students or make things that we create available to others to use, possibly to remix or recreate or adapt for what they need. So when we're looking at Creative Commons licenses, we'll see some information that's given to us. Up here at the top, we can see that we have CC0. This is the same as public domain. And as Taylor pointed out, the public domain can be used for whatever purpose you want. You can change it, you can sell it, you can do whatever you would like to do with it, and you don't have to tell anyone where you got the information originally. Now, most of us like to do that. It's just being polite. The next license, we have what's known as by, which means that we need to give attribution to the original content creators. Taylor's been working really hard on that sustainability lab manual. So if I'm going to use it in the course and it has a CC BY license, I want to make sure that I give her credit for that. The next license that we come across is CC BY share alike. Share alike means that if I create something out of the content, I need to make sure that I pass it on, that it's made available to others. For example, if I take Taylor's sustainability lab manual, I make some changes to it and I want to give it to Alita, then what I'll need to do is I'll need to make sure that Alita knows that, hey, I'm going to give you this material, but if you make any changes to it, you also need to pass it on. This helps make sure that OER materials are able to continue to be changed and modified and to just get better with time. Next, we'll find a non-commercial license. Non-commercial simply means that we cannot make a profit off of the materials. For example, if we're talking about a textbook or a lab manual, we can sell those materials for the cost of printing, but we can't make any profit off of those materials. This is a way that content creators can make sure that their work is not being sold by another person for profit. And here we can see in this next example that we can stack these licenses together. So in this license, it's by, so I need to give proper attribution, non-commercial, so I know that I can't sell it, or sell it for profit, excuse me. And then the next option is share alike, meaning that I will need to make sure that anything that I create with this will be shared by others in the same form and fashion. Sort of the last and most restrictive version of Creative Commons licenses includes ND, or no derivative or non-derivative. This simply means that we can't make something out of these materials. That means that I could give Taylor a paper and share that paper with her if it's under a non-derivative license. I can give Taylor and Alita those papers, but what I can't do is make changes to those papers before I give it to them. Now, this is a lot of information to process, and that's okay because I have an activity for us. So let's say that we want to make banana bread and give it to our students. We go to the store and we find that there are different bananas with different Creative Commons licenses. Take a second and write in the chat and let me know which bananas, A, B, C, D, or E, do you believe that we can use to make banana breads or to make new content to give to our students? There's a little bit of a cheat sheet down at the bottom. It lets you know that by is attribution, SA is share alike, NC is non-commercial, and ND is no derivatives. So go ahead and write in that chat box, do you think we can use any of these bananas, all of these bananas, or a couple of these bananas? Go ahead and take a minute and write in the chat. Roxanne has chosen to be the first person to answer. Great. Oh, great. All right. So we're seeing a little bit of A, maybe some C and D. All right, I'll give everybody one more minute, and then we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about these bananas. That's okay. Memorizing the Creative Commons licenses is a difficult thing, and recognize that on most materials, you're going to find a little link that lets you know. If you click on that link, it will tell you, oh, this is what this license means. And it's in plain English and super easy to understand. So don't worry about forgetting the definitions. All right, we've got a couple of answers, so let's go to the next page and see how bananas we are. All right. So it looks like everybody answered A, and that is totally correct. We can use the A bananas to make banana bread for our students. We just have to make sure that we let our students know where we got it. We can't claim that we grew the bananas ourselves, but we can let them know that we went to Fry's or Costco and we bought these bananas for them. B, we can't make banana bread out of banana number B, letter B, excuse me. So we can't make anything with those bananas because it's non-derivative. But we can give those bananas to our students as a snack, as long as we let them know where we got them from. And then C, yep, we can totally give the banana bread to use those bananas to make banana bread for our students. We just have to make sure that we don't sell that banana bread to our students and that our students don't sell the banana bread themselves. And D, right on. We can make banana bread with the bananas. We just have to make sure that we make sure that anyone else who wants to use those bananas to make banana bread, they can do so as well. One way of doing this might be to give the recipe to somebody or to give them the pan or the other cooking materials that we used to create the banana bread. And then you guys are correct. We can't use banana E. The part that tells us that we can't use banana E is that non-derivative. But again, we can give the banana to our students and let them know to enjoy the bananas and to think about banana bread while they eat those bananas. So this has been a little bananas, to say the least. But hopefully this helps you understand a little bit about how Creative Commons licenses work and how we can identify what we can and cannot make changes to when we're going to create materials for our students. So when we talk about where are we going to find materials, that's something that Alita is going to help us to answer. Take it away, Alita.
Awesome. So open educational resources can be found from a variety of sources. Sites like Oer Commons, Merlot, and Lumen Learning are full of materials, from videos to slides to articles, or even full textbooks and courses. They have been built and released for anyone to use or share. Using special search tools on Google, YouTube, or other search engines, We can also find a wide variety of resources on specific topics or areas of learning, which we'll demonstrate in a moment. Next slide. Our mission of the Oer Specialists here at our college is to help faculty in building materials that give students the tools needed to complete their classes, while still being able to afford learning. And then next slide. Oh, yes. So we'll be demonstrating how we find materials for faculty, and we use the example of looking up the Magna Carta for that example.
All right, so Alita, I'm going to go ahead and give you presentation or presenter role.
Awesome.
All right, you are now the presenter.
Right. So start out, all we'll need to do is do a quick Google search of the Magna Carta. Enter. And what we do is we go into advanced search settings on Google to help find resources. We scroll down to the bottom and look up the usage rights. So this will indicate what kind of licenses that Google is searching for. Free to user share is the least limited way to look for Creative Commons resources. Otherwise, you can go into more specifics depending on what you're looking for. So I'm just going to go ahead and do free to user share and click advanced search. And that'll bring us to all the websites and articles that are Creative Commons. And we're just going to go down. Lumen Learning is a great resource. So we'll click on that, see what we found. So here it looks like we found part of a textbook on the Magna Carta. And what we want to do is find where the license and attributions are. It's down at the bottom usually. And as you can see here, this license is CC BY and share alike. So that would be a great article to use if you're needing to teach about the Magna Carta. And we can look down some more, and it looks like we can try this article here. Have another article on Magna Carta, and again, we just want to look for the Creative Commons licensing down at the bottom. This one looks like it's under the non-commercial share alike. So this was also great to use. Doesn't have that non-derivative license, and it can be edited and reused. So those two are wonderful articles to use, and you can see here there are a lot of different entries, just Creative Commons. So yeah, that's generally how we do searching for articles on Google.
And now, Taylor, I'm going to pass the presenter role to you. And Taylor's going to show us how to do pretty much the exact same thing on YouTube.
On YouTube, you would just go and search for the and just go up here to filter. There's many different ways to filter your videos. You can go straight over to the features and go down to Creative Commons. Begin. And normally the best videos are ones from British Library, UK Parliament, places that are normally well known and have a lot of credibility. And the best way to check for these videos is by going down and seeing that the British Library actually posted a video about the British Library. So this is a great way that you can just check and see if it's actually able to share. If you didn't want to go route, you would just search Creative Commons and can do it without a filter. If you wanted to know the most recent videos based on what you want, you can go by, say you want subtitles in your videos, but you want something that is credible. So you would go to someone and you can go to their webpage and you would see ask for permission from them. You can also go the route of suggested, as to Google and searching the Magna Carta. Putting in those filters she suggested. Free share, free to user share commercially. Normally, I try to go to free user share or modify even commercially. This way, you can even use snippets of videos if you like. And I'd go straight over to videos, and you can see that video from the library is really popular. Then there's this video from the National Archives, and it takes you straight to their webpage, which is great because it gives you another resource where you can find other videos and credible content to use.
Great, thank
Yes.
you. I'm going to go ahead and take back the presenter role and share my screen. All right, so we found a YouTube video. Alita?
Yes. So there are many benefits to using and creating open educational resources. For one, material can be released to students for little or no cost, vastly reducing the financial burden students must bear when moving through higher education. Student expense is one of the biggest burdens that students struggle with in college, and each class or material that comes at a lower cost will help students forge a more successful pathway onwards. I personally have used multiple classes with OER resources, and it has been such a relief and such a big help to me to have those resources be free and easily accessible. Also helps to include student participation and enrollment, as students will be able to more freely access what they need to complete their courses and, just have a lower cost. And another excellent reason to switch to OER is the fact that these openly licensed materials are flexible. They can be updated, changed, or reworked based on positive or negative feedback from students or faculty. Instead of having to work around technology, you can make your articles and everything just be completely flexible. You don't have to use expensive copyrighted coursework, and OER can be quickly edited, remixed, and improved based on the needs of the class, teacher, or technology. So yeah, next slide. We have seen a great deal of success in using OER in the past, and the group Maricopa Millions has saved students a great deal as well. Over the years 2013 to 2018 alone, they have saved students over $11,520,000 by employing free or low-cost materials. And here at PVCC, our Oer Specialists have saved students over $1,000 in the past year and a half alone. In the following years, we hope to increase that number as we move towards a more accessible educational environment.
It's fantastic how this little program has been around for about a year and a half, and yet we've managed to save students $100,000 in just that short amount of time, which just goes to show, as Alita said, small changes make a big difference. Whether it's an entire course, a textbook, or just adding some resources to make some additional changes or to supplement the materials you already have. I'm sure everybody has a textbook that there are sections that they prefer more than they prefer other sections. So, are there any questions? I know we had a lot of information to share with everybody, and we wanted to make sure that we offered a lot of time to be able to answer questions or to show demonstrations. Any questions that you might have about the OER program or about OER in general, we're here to answer those questions for you. Well, let me go ahead and ask the question.
I'm sorry, I have a question real quick. I was a little
Go ahead.
behind. So are most like college websites, so like, we have like, writing center handouts that we post. Are most of those kind of, yeah, I know Purdue would, I think Purdue is too, but like, if they went to our, one of our library guides that we've posted, they find our library and they go to our library guides and we have some kind of handout on counter arguments. How do we find out if that is considered free to share?
Well,
Are most colleges free to share?
most colleges, it depends on the college. For example, Harvard University is doing a lot to really push the OER on their campus, and they're really working to create OER. But not all of their materials are OER. So for something like, I believe it's Purdue OWL, somebody mentioned as well. For those resources, we would need to go to the website and we would need to look and see in their terms of service, what does it look like? So let me go ahead and pull up a browser real quick and let's go and look. So if we go to the OWL Purdue Writing Lab, you all can still see my screen, correct?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. So we'll look at the website, and as Taylor and Alita mentioned, we'll usually just scroll down to the bottom and it'll let us know. We can see here, it tells us that it is copyrighted, all rights reserved, and this is usually the most telling part. This material may not be published, reproduced, broadcast, rewritten, or redistributed. However, they do offer terms and conditions of fair use. Technically, fair use is not a part of OER. But if we go down in here, let's see what they say. Well, it tells us that we can print them free of charge. We can make copies for personal, educational, or training purposes. Things like that. So while it's not openly licensed, it does allow for our use. Also remember that some things, such as Purdue University or the New York Times or another news location, you would be able to provide a link to your students at that point. You wouldn't be able to necessarily publish it in a textbook or copy and paste the information into your Canvas course, but you can link to copyrighted material. Just be aware that that also means that if they decide to move the link or to take the materials down, you can't use that. So do use some caution when using and linking to copyrighted materials. But as this states, you would be allowed to use the materials under some restrictions under fair use. But again, fair use isn't really OER.
Can I just clarify something real quick? So I know you guys said in one of the earlier slides that it's not just anything on the internet, but I guess as long as we're not copying and pasting and using it to create something new, but we're just providing a link to this website or this material or what, you know, you're just providing the link to go and access the original source, then that's fine.
Depending on the material, in most cases, yes.
Thank you.
No problem. And if you have questions about specific materials, that's one of the things that the OER specialists do, is we are more than happy to vet materials for you. And even if you find a copyrighted material, send us a link to it. We can see if we can find a openly licensed alternative. And as Alita said, creativecommons.org is a fantastic way to look for resources. In fact, let me take you there.
Also, for copyrighted works, you could provide a link to your students for copyrighted works, right? But you couldn't say, go to a copyrighted movie or something and play that in class, even though you could suggest the students to watch it. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you ask the question one more time? I think you broke up a little bit.
Oh, let's see, can you hear me okay?
Yes, now it
Okay.
seems like you're fine.
Okay, great. So would you be able to, you can play that copyrighted work in class or get a handout of that copyrighted work, even though you could link to it in your class, correct?
Again, I think it would depend on what that copyrighted material is, and it also heavily depends on, are we talking about giving something out in an in-person class, or are we talking about an online class? Normally, what copyright holders object to the most is the loss of control of their materials. That means if, for example, say a publisher gives you a handout for you to use as a teacher, as a teaching guide. If you share that with your students and they share it outside of the class, that's a violation of copyright law. However, using publisher materials inside of the closed Canvas space, inside of the closed classroom door, is a different animal. And again, that goes more into copyright law than it really does into the idea of openly licensed resources. So here on my screen, I have creativecommons.org. It's a great central place to be able to go to look for materials. So for example, if I type in Magna Carta, I can see I get a lot of different images. Sometimes there will be different podcasts or different things that we can look at. SoundCloud tends to have some openly licensed audio files for different things. We can also sometimes find videos. Wikimedia is actually different than Wikipedia. Wikimedia is simply a collection of media. It includes lots of images and videos as well. So if you're looking for a video or you're looking for an image on a specific topic, check out Wikimedia. They usually have thousands of really high quality images. We've used them for our the textbooks that we've created in the past, including we created an art history textbook, 2 of them actually, and we relied on Wikimedia quite a bit because their images are all under Creative Commons or public domain. And it's also because it's a community aspect. The community has come together, they've taken photos of pieces of art or of sculptures or of architecture, and they've uploaded their home family photos here. And as most of us know, our cameras can do a lot on our phones. So we can create high quality materials very easily, especially in today's day and age. So that's a little bit about Wikimedia and the Creative Commons. Great questions. So are there any other questions? Can you provide a link to a textbook on Google? Oh, that's an interesting question. Let me copy this link and let's see where it takes us. Fundamentals of Project Management. Let's see here. One of the things, and let me take you through my thought process as I'm looking at this. One of the first things that I noticed, and it's kind of hard to see, but in this image here, we can see that there's a watermark, or it looks like iStock photo. A legitimate textbook will not have a watermark on top of their photo, which tells me this is either an early draft or something that somebody has created without vetting their materials 100%. So let's keep looking and see if we can find information on copyrighted materials. It looks like this was published by a publishing company. That's not necessarily bad. Lots of publishing companies are actually moving to give Creative Commons licenses, OpenStax being a great resource for textbooks. And here we can see that this is copyrighted 2012 with the American Management Association. What I would suggest that you do is reach out to the American Management Association or the publishing company, which looks like Macom. I probably totally butchered the name of that publishing company, but I would reach out to them and just double check. Another way to tell if something is openly licensed is, does it have an ISBN number? If something has an ISBN number, which are those funny, or a barcode, those funny lines on the back that we always scan at the grocery store, that means that somebody intends to sell this material. Now, I will tell you, there is a ton of copyrighted material that is out there on the internet. And one of the things that we want to make sure of, especially with videos and with textbooks, is that we are not linking to illegal materials. We can be held personally responsible for perpetuating the breaking of that copyright. So we're just as responsible as the people who put that up on the internet. Something else that I would always suggest that you do is, if you're given a link to a PDF, always come up to the top and look at the URL that it comes from. And I like to do some backtracking. So I can see that this is the name of the file because it ends with .pdf. So if I click the back button and we just go to this website, handouts / this person's name, who is not the author. He's not the author of this textbook. So let's go and see what his page tells us. Well, we can't look at that because it's behind a locked wall. This is another red flag. If you find a PDF material that you can't backtrack, chances are you weren't meant to find that PDF. So let's go back again and let's look. We can see this word handouts. Looks like from 2014 handouts. So let's keep backtracking, and we can also see access is denied for handouts. Let's try for 2014. Nope. We see this SEC. Still no. Conferences? No. Although the fact that it says uploaded conferences leads me to believe that somebody provided this as a part of a closed conference, and somehow that PDF link leaked out. But let's keep backtracking. Let's go to uploaded, and again we see access denied. So we have to go all the way to the main root of a web page in order to figure out where did this PDF come from. So let's see what NISA Center is. We can see it's Near East South Asia Council of Overseas Schools. Sounds all right. Let's scroll down and see what else they offer. Here is an email address. So I would suggest reaching out to them and just asking, what do we need to, letting them know you found the link and letting them know, hey, I'd like to use this for my students, and let them come back and give you permission for that. I would also, because it's a copyrighted textbook, I would reach out to either the author or the publishing company and also get that information. A lot of what we as OER specialists do is this detective work. We find so many links. Another story that I can share is we were working again on that art history course. There was so much media that we needed to collect for that art history course because it's a very visual course. We were going through and we found a fantastic documentary, a PBS documentary on YouTube. It's great. It's the entire hour-and-a-half long documentary. The problem is the quality on it was, you could tell someone had downgraded the audio and that the video wasn't taking up the entire screen. It was almost as if someone had zoomed into the video, and it had been posted not by PBS, but by someone's name was the channel. It wasn't uploaded by PBS. Well, by searching for the title of that documentary, we were able to find that PBS was selling copies of those DVDs to teachers or to anyone who wanted to consume that media. Therefore, we could find out that that media was copyrighted and that video was up there illegally. Again, OER is meant to work in tandem with copyrighted materials. It's not meant to be a way to circumvent copyrighted materials, because Creative Commons, when you get down to it, it's its own license. So that means that it serves the same purpose as a copyright, to protect the original author or the original creator's rights. And we want to make sure, especially since we work so much with content creators, that we want to respect their rights no matter what. Maybe Taylor or Alita can talk to this a little bit, but we've had great success in reaching out to content creators, big companies and small independent authors as well, and asking for their permission to use copyrighted materials inside of their course. It definitely becomes one of those, it's still copyrighted and is really that non-distribution. It's, we can't share this outside of this space, but the creator recognizes what we're trying to do and grants us permission to use those materials. Carolyn makes a good point. She reached out to someone and found out that it wasn't their picture, so they ended up taking it down. And if all of this seems daunting about, oh, what can I use? What can't I use? Oh, I have to reach out to so many people. Recognize that that's why the OER specialists are here. Our job is to make your life easier as you're going to build openly licensed content. We can edit papers and textbooks. We can help you to find and vet materials and reach out to copyright holders and let you know if things are or are not up there legally. So a lot of times when you're searching on Google, you will find openly licensed PDFs and materials that abound, but you also have to be careful while you go out and search. Are there any other questions that I can help to answer?
OER specialist, one of the unique problems I've recently run into with our Sustainable Cooking Lab Manual is the recipe portion. And recipes are technically public domain. They cannot be copyrighted because you can't copyright a set of ingredients. It's like a formula. What is copyrighted is the way that they are structured and put together to um, make the meal or whatever you're making. That is the portion that is copyrighted in these cookbooks and um, health manuals and diet books, is the way that they make their food and the way that they uh, saute or cut something. That's the portion that they are copywriting, not the set of ingredients. So
That's
that
a
was
great point.
interesting.
Thank you for sharing that, Taylor. Definitely, let me show you Wikipedia. I think I should have put an EN in front of this.
Oh, I think they mean Wikimedia.
Oh, Wikimedia. All right. And let me go ahead and put a link to this in the chat for everybody, so you can do your own exploring too. So Wikimedia, which is a little different than Wikipedia, but builds off of the same idea. That's where people come together and they collaborate on a work that is then available to everyone else on the internet. So, for example, we see this is actually a fantastic image. So it's an animation of Mars Express's flyby of Phobos. I know I pronounced that wrong. But if we go ahead and click on this media, let's say we wanted to use this for our students. We're teaching an astronomy class. And we see this and, oh, this is a great depiction of what I want to talk to them about in class. If we come down here to the bottom, underneath this description, we can see the license. It is Creative Commons by Share Alike. And you'll be able to find this information for all of every image, every video will have clear copyright information. Again, you do still have to be careful. Some people do like to upload copyrighted materials, but usually they're taken down pretty quick. And that's because, like Wikipedia, Wikimedia wants to keep a good reputation with the people who use it. If I click on this blue More Details button here in the lower right-hand corner, I'll be taken to a page where I can get even more details. This just lets us know that because it's on the front page, they don't want people to be editing the details or adding information. But we can see right here, this is the source where we got the video. This also means that I could, let's open it up in a new tab real quick. I can see the information here, and I might be able to go to the rest of the European Space Agency, click around, and maybe find some more images that I could use. Again, I would want to check the copyright on those images. But it can also help you to find good sources to find lots of materials on a broad topic. One of the other things that I really like about using Wikimedia is, let me click and open in Media Viewer again. That's the view that we were just in. See? If I come over here on the right-hand side, I see that I have the option to share or embed this file, meaning it makes it super easy to embed it into our Canvas course or to share it with maybe another account or another computer where we're working on things. But right above that, there's a download this file button. If I click on that, it will remind me that I need to attribute the author. I'll be able to click and download the file, but if I click on this, you need to attribute the author, it will give me everything that I need in order to attribute this author. And I can just copy and paste this right into my Canvas course. That means that we don't have to sit down and we have to think about, okay, who is this? How did they upload this? Things like that. The original uploader tells us, this is how I would like to be credited in the attribution. Using and providing links to free ebooks on Gutenberg, which for those of you who don't know, Project Gutenberg is a fantastic resource full of public domain texts. Bartley and OpenStax, those are perfectly fine to do. In fact, let me go to OpenStax real quick. Let me provide you a link. Let's say we're going to teach a science class on physics. If we click on the table of contents and we say we want to go to part, let's see here, 2.1, we can share this link right up here and it will actually link to this direct chapter. Many other places offer those, like Taylor said, she's right on the ball. These sites offer those free ebooks intentionally. And that all goes back to copyright. Did they mean for their content to be released to everyone? We're finding right now, well, there's a great example in the media right now. The Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling are copyrighted works. But J.K. Rowling has granted teachers permission to use those works in their classrooms for read-alongs and things like that. So in that case, that author has granted permission for a certain amount of time and for limited uses to use her copyrighted works. Things like that. So we always need to look at that intention. All right, are there any other questions, anything else that I can demonstrate or that the other OER specialists can demonstrate or talk about? Our contact information is up here on the screen, and in fact, let me make it a little bigger. You feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or if you just want us to look over some material that you might have. A huge thank you to Taylor and Alita. They have learned so much during this time and they are really doing a fantastic job in building these resources and in making sure that they're empowering students to be able to save money and really focus on learning. So thank you all so much for coming. No, we are all part-time staff at the Center for Teaching and Learning. Although I'm sure if we were full-time staff, we would have plenty to keep us busy. Thank you guys. We're going to go ahead and stick around for a little bit longer if anybody has any questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.